Okay, in this video we're going to be simplifying radicals, and a radical is anything that has the square root symbol. It could be a cube root, could be a fourth root, but you can tell what root it is by this number. If there's no number there at all, it's automatically a square root. 2 is understood to be there. If there's a 3 here, then it's a cube root. If there's a 4 there, there's a fourth root, and so forth. The radicand is anything that's underneath the radical symbol, and the radical itself is the symbol. So what we'll do is we'll do an easy one first and get started. So if you already know the squares, so 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4, and so forth. And we could keep going forever, actually. But I'm just going to go to 25 and be done. But because 2 times 2 is 4, then the square root of 4 is 2. And because 5 times 5 is 25, the square root of 25 is 5. And so forth. So you're looking for perfect squares. 2 of the same number. That's what you're really searching for. So let's do a little bit harder one. Let's do the square root of 100. And you might already know the answer, and that's fine, but we're going to work it out. So 100 is, you can break it down to 50 times 2. And then you could break down again to 2 times 25. And then we could break 25 down to 5 times 5. So notice that we have 2, a 5, and a 2. So I'm going to rewrite it. And it's always best to put them in order from least to greatest, underneath the radical symbol. Notice that I have 2 2's and I have 2 5's. That's good, because that's perfect squares. Whenever there are 2 of the same number underneath the radical symbol, then they get to come out front. So this 2 will now be out front of the radical, and so will the 5. Notice that if we take the 2 out, and if we take the 5 out, there actually isn't anything left. So we're not going to need a radical anymore. Anything that gets brought out front is then going to be multiplied. So 2 times 5 is 10. And so the square root of 100 is 10. And that makes sense because 10 times 10 is 100. So it is a perfect square. Let's try the square root of 12. Well, 12 times 1 would work, but 4 times 3 is better because we need to be able to break it down. Notice I have 2, 2, and 3. If you're not good at your multiplication facts, these can become very hard because you can make a lot of errors and it becomes very messy. So if you need to practice your multiplication facts, do so with your speed drills. Don't use your multiplication chart. Don't use your, obviously don't use your calculator, but really try to get better at your multiplication facts because they're really useful for all kinds of math. So notice that I have 2 2's, but I only have 1 3. So 3 is by itself. The 2 is going to come out front. So the 2 is going to come out front of the radical, but the 3 has to stay in. What I always did, the way I always remembered it when I was younger, was when you're in school, you know, you're always looking probably for a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and let's just do the square root of 20, and I'll show you. So 4 times 5, and then 2 times 2. So I have 2 times 2 times 5. Alright, so imagine that the radical is a house. Okay, so this radical is a house. And there's people in it. There's a 2, and a 5. And everybody's always looking for their perfect match. When you find your perfect match, you go out on a date. But when you leave the house, you're no longer seen as 2 people. Now you're 1 couple. So when the 2 goes out on a date, it is only 1 2. It's not 2 2s anymore. Once it comes out of the house, it's 1 2. Now 5 is still looking for its perfect match. It doesn't go out on a date. It stays in the house. Anything that stays in the house gets multiplied. Anything that leaves the house gets multiplied. You never add, never subtract, never divide. Now, I haven't been saying these out loud, but when you actually say the answer, this is spoken 2 square roots of 5. And this one was 2 square roots of 3. And this one was just 10. Just 2, just 5. We've actually already solved number 1. It was 2 square roots of 5. So let's try another one. Let's do number 2's fine. So I'm going to do this on another page. Okay, so I don't know my factors of 104 very well, and that's okay. But I can, because it's even, because it ends in an even number, I can always take half of it. So even numbers can always be divided by 2. So half of 104 is 52. And again, I don't know my 52s very well, but it's even, so I can take half of it too. Half of 52 is 26, and again, it's even. Half of 26 is 13. And I know I'm done now because 13 is a prime number. I can't go down any further. So I got 2, a 2, a 2, and a 13. So I'm going to write that 2 times 2 times 2 times 13. And I'm looking for perfect matches, people that can go out on a date. So these 2's are good, so they'll come out. But this 2 and this 13, they have to stay in because they don't have a perfect match. And it doesn't matter that there was already a match of 2's, like it has to have its own match. So 2 times 13. And when I leave, whatever's left in the house has to get multiplied. So 2 times 13 is 26. So the final answer is 2 square roots of 26. So we'll write that down. Alright, let's do number 3. Okay, square root of 27. Well, 27 is not a perfect square, so we're definitely going to have something left in the house. 27, the only factors of 27 are 3 and 9. And 3 is already prime, and 9 breaks down again to 2 more 3's. So I have a 3, and a 3. Notice that I have 3 3's, but only 2 of them. I'm only searching for 2 right now because I'm looking for square root. Notice that this number out here is a 2. That's why I'm looking for pairs of 2. If it were a 3, I would be looking for groups of 3, and I would actually grab this one too. But it's only a square root, so I won't do that. So these 3's right here are going to come out, and the other 3 has to stay in. And so my answer is 3 square roots of 3. So we'll write that answer. Go ahead and try number 4 by yourself and see how it goes, and then we're going to go down through the others. Alright, the square root of 54. If you have not tried it yet, go ahead and pause it and try it now. If you've already done it, then keep watching. So 54 is even, so I'm just going to take half of it. Half of 54 is 27. And we just did 27, so you should at least have an idea of what it's going to break down to. It's going to break down to 3 3's. So what I really have is the square root of 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. And again, I really only have one perfect match that's going to come out. The rest have to stay in. So the 3 is going to come out front, and then the 2 and the 3 are going to stay in, so 2 times 3 is 6. So this is 3 square roots of 6. Okay, number 5 looks like it's harder, but it's really not. So we'll go ahead and do that one. Alright, 3 square roots of 18. For the moment, the 3 is going to be ignored. Okay, we're not going to worry about the 3 until we get to the end. So we're just going to focus on the 18. 9 times 2, and then I'm going to have 3 and 3. So I have a 3, and a 2. So when I rewrite it, I'm going to leave that 3 out front, and then I'm going to write everything else under the radical, because that is what it is. The 3 was out front, and the 18 was under the radical. These 3's are going to come out front with the other 3. So this 3 I'm going to write like this. And then this 3 comes out front as well. And then the 2 gets left behind because it did not have a perfect match. What's going to happen is anything outside of the radical gets multiplied as well. So this is going to be 9 square roots of 2. So the only thing that changes is you still do all the same work, but because there was a front number to start with, it then gets multiplied by anything else that comes out. So the final answer, 9 square roots of 2. Go ahead and try number 6 by yourself. That negative 2 is not going to matter until the very end, and then anything that gets pulled out of the house will get multiplied by the negative 2. So try that. Alright, so make sure that if you haven't tried it, you're going to do it now. So pause the video and try it. Otherwise, just watch the video. 60, I'm going to do 10 and 6. That'll be easy. And it doesn't matter what you pick. You could have picked 20 and 20 and 3 or 2 and 30. It doesn't matter. We're all going to get to the same spot. So I got 2, a 5, a 2, and a 3. And then I still have that negative 2 that's out front. So it's always best if you order the numbers in order. It's way easier. You're going to make less mistakes. Always put the numbers, even though they're written down here out of order, when I rewrite them here, I put them in order. So I see that I have a perfect match of 2's, which is great. That's going to come out front. But 3 and 5 don't have a perfect match, so they have to stay in. So this 2 is going to get multiplied by this negative 2. So 2 times negative 2 is going to be negative 4. And then this 3 and 5, they had to stay in the house. And 3 times 5 is 15. So if you got negative 4 square roots of 15, good job. Okay, if you did not get that one right, try again and do number 7. It's, same thing. And then continue the video and watch it be worked out. So I'm just going to do 30 and 3. And then 10 and 3. And then 2 and 5. So I got a 3, a 2, a 5, and a 3. So 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. So hopefully you made it this far. And again, you didn't have to pick 3 and 30, but you should still get to the same 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. And again, I have a perfect square here, so that's good. So this 3 times the 3 that comes out, and then 2 and 5 had to stay in. So again, this 3 is here, and this 3 is here. So 2 separate 3's. Make sure that you see that. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times 5 is 10. Final answer, 9 square roots of 10. Okay, so try number 8. Make sure you do 8 by yourself, and hopefully you're getting these right by now. If you're not, you need to ask for help, because you're going to be working on harder things here to come. Alright, so I'm just going to do half of 32, which is 16, and then half of 16, which is 8, and that's a 4. Let me clean that up a little bit. And then this is going to be 2 and 2 as well. So I got a lot of 2's here. I'm going to circle them. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have a negative 2 out front, and then I have 5 2's underneath the radical. notice that this negative 2, the other 2's don't affect that negative 2. So I got a pair here, and I got a pair here. So I got two 2's coming out. So I have the negative 2 that was out there before. So this one right here. Then I got another 2 for here. And then I got another 2 for that one. But this poor little guy did not have a match, so he has to stay in the house. Negative 2 times 2 times 2 is actually negative 8. So final answer, negative 8 square roots of 2. Okay, 9 through 12 might look a little hard, but they're actually easier. The variables are easier than the numbers. So let's just do x cubed, the square root of x cubed. Okay, x cubed, we don't even really have to break it down like the other numbers. X cubed means x times x times x. There's 3 x's being multiplied together. Same concept. You're looking for perfect matches. An x and an x, perfect. So it's going to come out front, and this x has to stay in, and so the final answer is x square roots of x. And again, it's actually easier to do variables than it is to do numbers. So go ahead and try number 10 by yourself and see if you get it figured out. Okay, so what we're really going to do is I'm going to write it down below because I need so much space. But I'm going to have 4 x's and I'm going to have 5 y's. And I'm looking for perfect matches here, so I have a pair of x's and another pair of x's and a pair of y's and another pair of y's. The only thing that's going to be left in the house is this y. Everything else will come out. So I'm going to have an x times an x times a y times a y, and then I'm going to keep that y in the house. So notice I have x times y, square roots of y. I'm running out of room, but this would equal x squared, y squared, because x times x is x squared, and y times y is y squared, square roots of y. And that is the final answer. So if you were going to say that out loud, it'd be x squared, y squared, square roots of y. Okay, go ahead and try number 11 and 12 by yourself, and then play the video, and I will have worked them out. Alright, I went ahead and jumped ahead, and I broke down. 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. X squared breaks down to x and x, and y to the 4th breaks down to y times y times y times y. I'm looking for perfect matches, and I found a pair of 2's, a pair of x's, a pair of y's, and a pair of y's. Notice that there's nothing left over, so I will not have a radical left. There won't be anything left in the house. So I'm just going to have 2 times x times y times y. And when I simplify that, I get 2xy squared. Notice no radical, nothing. Like, when everything leaves the radical doesn't get written. So the final answer is 2xy squared. Okay, I went ahead and broke down the next one, and 9 breaks down to 3 and 3. X to the 8th breaks down to 8 x's, and y to the 7th is 7 y's. So I'm looking for perfect squares. I got a pair of 3's, a pair of x's, a pair of x's, a pair of x's, and a pair of x's. I have a pair of y's, y's, y's. Notice I do have something left over, so I will have a radical in this answer. So I have 3 times x times x times x times x times y times y times y, square roots of y. And again, if I count how many x's I have 4 x's and 3 y's, square roots of y. Final answer, 3x to the 4th, y to the 3rd, square roots of y.